Let's just get this out of the way. Yes, he's a piece of shit. Yes, he knew what he was doing. And no, he doesn't like you. At least not in the way that you wanted him to. There's your closure. That's all you need. Because what you've been calling closure isn't about healing. It's about control. You don't want answers. You want reassurance. You're a human. You want to believe that the story meant something. You want them to validate the pain so it feels justified. But here's the truth. You can't get peace from somebody who created the chaos. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Rebuild Different. I'm Epiphany Paige, and today we're talking about one of the biggest traps that people fall into after heartbreak, which is chasing closure instead of accepting clarity. Closure sounds mature, right? It sounds like growth, like you're trying to end things the right way. But be honest, when you say you want closure, what you really mean is, I want them to understand what they did. I want them to feel bad about it. I want them to admit that I wasn't crazy. But that's not closure. That's fantasy. The same person who couldn't take accountability while they had you isn't suddenly going to develop emotional depth after they've lost you. You're not asking for closure. You're asking for them to be a different person. And if they were capable of that, then you wouldn't need closure in the first place. You don't need another conversation. You don't need another text. And you don't need another talk just for old time's sake. Because you already have your answers. They're written into the patterns, the silence, the inconsistencies. That was your closure. You just didn't like what it said. But because the ending didn't come with an apology, you've convinced yourself that it's incomplete. It wasn't incomplete. It was just ugly. And you're not grieving the person. You're grieving the version of you that believed them. I'll tell you something personal. I was dating a guy once and then found out he had a girlfriend. Not just some casual situationship, a real relationship. So you know what I did? I found her. I told her, and then I blocked his ass and never spoke to him again. And get this, it all came crashing down when they were on a dual birthday trip in Greece. Now, old me would have chased that closure. I would have wanted answers. I would have wanted to ask, why would you do that? How long has this been going on? Was any of it real? Because yeah, what he did was foul, and I did deserve answers. But then I reminded myself that the only answers that I needed were the ones that he already showed me. There was nothing left to say, and I was not about to give this dude another second of my time. Because who the fuck do you think you are? If that's how you're moving, that's not someone I need around me anyways. So why would I prolong the inevitable? And that moment right there, that was my shift. When I realized that silence can be the loudest closure that there is. Did you guys know that your brain releases the same kind of stress hormones during emotional uncertainty as it does physical pain? That's why your chest tightens when something ends without explanation. And it's not weakness. It's your body just craving resolution. But clarity, even painful clarity, calms your system faster than any false hope ever will. So when you keep rereading their messages, when you keep looking at their stories, you're not looking for answers, you're looking for a reason to stay connected. And that's not healing, that's habit. And it's also a great way to keep yourself stuck in a cycle where you can't evolve past this person because you're staying in it. You want to know another reason why you don't get closure sometimes? Is because the other person already has it. They made their decision. They just didn't include you in it. And that's what hurts. But chasing someone who's comfortable with your confusion is another form of self-betrayal. They're not confused. They're fine with your uncertainty because it keeps them in control. Closure isn't something they give you. It's something you take back when you stop asking questions that you already know the answers to. Let's just say for a second, you did get what you wanted. They call, they apologize, they say all the right things, they come back. Now what? Because the second that you take somebody back after they've already disrespected you, you've given them the blueprint. They now know exactly how far they can push before you break. And they now know exactly what to say to get you back. And that is not love. That is leverage. And at the time, you might feel like you've won, but you didn't. You've just taught them that access to you doesn't require accountability. And now you're not in a relationship. You're in a negotiation. And they hold the power now. because you've already showed them that you will bend to keep them. And you cannot rebuild your self-worth while trying to prove it to the same person who broke it. That's why clarity matters more than closure. Closure wants them back, and clarity wants your power back. You don't need closure from them. You need closure with yourself. And it's time to ask yourself, why did I ignore the signs? Because they were definitely there. Why did I accept less than I deserve? And why did I continue to make excuses for someone who showed me who they were? And when you can answer those questions honestly, that's your clarity. And that's how you take your peace back. Because clarity says, I see it for what it was, and I choose not to touch that wound again. And I just want to remind everybody, everything that I say, I've been through personally. So take my advice, don't take my advice, but I'm telling you, I have tried chasing closure, and you want to know how many times it's worked? 0. You don't need one more talk. You don't need them to circle back. You don't need to be friends. You don't even need to be polite. You just need to stop mistaking unfinished for undone. The story ended, so stop rereading the same chapter hoping for a different ending. They told you who they were. Believe them. That's all the closure that you're ever going to need. Let it go. All right, guys, that's been another episode of Rebuilt Different, where we stop waiting for apologies from people who already showed us exactly what we needed to see. See you guys next episode.